This meeting is being recorded.
Folks, we need to talk about Tesla. You've been watching my channel for any length of time. You know I'm not I'm not in it. I have no skin in the game, but I have had some pretty choice words to talk about Tesla. Tesla in 2023. Are we facing bankruptcy? Are we looking at a $16 stock if we used Ford's multiple? Perhaps it's like Chicken Genius, and the floor is now $60. In order to do this, I am bringing on a 10-year Wall Street veteran. We call him Taylor from Life Goal Investments. How you doing, buddy?
Oh man, I'm excited for this topic. We've been hot on Tesla as well in a negative direction. We don't have exposure in any of our portfolios. This is a grossly overvalued stock, has been for a long time, and the market realization is starting to come around, and they are getting whooped.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So I first started talking about Tesla over a year and a half ago when this Meet Kevin guy just started doing, oh, it's going to 1,000, it's going to the moon, and I'm like, I have been here before. For me, the cult, this is a cult stock, right? Tesla
no doubt.
Bros, no doubt.
No doubt.
But I've been there, right? I have been that 20-something who got enamored with a stock and rode it and made a god-awful amount of money and then lost it. So I've seen it before. For me, just for clarity, it's Cisco Systems. They were the internet.
Right.
They were 3 miles from my house, and they split their stock seemingly every 9 months. So it was an easy way to make money until it wasn't. And
it's addicting. It's addicting. That's the problem.
You feel like a genius.
Yeah.
You weren't a genius. You got lucky. You got on the bandwagon early and you rode it, and you didn't realize you were in a cult stock, and now people are starting to see it. So you've been in the game a long time. You were on Wall Street for a decade. Tell me when you think of Tesla, why is it such a grossly overvalued company?
I mean, the numbers just don't make sense. The numbers don't make sense, and the narrative doesn't make sense. So the narrative is Tesla can sell every vehicle that it produces. Tesla sells out every vehicle that it produces. That's just simply not true. The last 3 straight quarters, they have produced more cars than they have sold. So that right there in itself is something where you go, time out. One, are they taking over the world? Because that's the way the stock was priced, and I think still is priced. And again, the thought that, hey, they are absolutely light years ahead of everybody, and therefore, if anyone's going to purchase an EV, it's going to be theirs, and they're going to sell everything they can produce. Their production will pick up, their margins will continue to balloon, et cetera, et cetera. None of those are facts. None of them.
No, and there just seemed, again, I only can see it because I was in it before, and I have digested how I lost 80% of my stack in this environment or a similar environment.
So how long, just rewinding back to your experience, how long did it take? How long did Cisco melt for? I guess is kind of what I'm asking.
So well, I actually went back and looked at it this morning. The peak right before the .com crash, it did not get back to that peak for 22 years. Yeah, and I think the peak for Tesla is the same thing. I think there's a peak on Tesla today that won't be seen for 20 plus years, if ever.
1.2 trillion.
Yeah, 1.2, 1.3 today, under 400, and likely going lower. I mean, Elon Musk there's a couple of things. So he did a Twitter, I don't know what it's called, chat or open or whatever they're called, and he took some questions about Tesla. And first off, he squashed the stock buyback, right? Because there was all talk about, hey, Elon, take some of that cash reserve and go buy back your stock, you big believer. And he's like, nope.
No, it's overvalued.
No, well, he didn't actually say that, but he basically said, no, we're going to prepare for a worst case scenario.
And I'm also going to sell stock when I'm telling you that I'm not going to sell stock. There's a vote of confidence.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually wrote that down because I thought it was crazy. I actually did. Here it is. So on April 29th, he sold 8.5 billion. I'm not selling anymore. August 10th, selling 6.9 billion. I'm not selling anymore. November 8th, 4 billion. December 14th, 3.6. And oh, by the way, I'm not selling anymore. Folks, this is the guy who said funding reserved or funding done at 420. This is the guy that talked about, being as valued as Saudi Aramco and Apple combined. He's talking.
Do we want to talk numbers on this real quick?
Go ahead. Go for it.
Wrap some numbers around it. So I love the Ford comparison, just because I think that's a fair kind of, again, you could pick Ford, GM, whatever. You could pick any Rivian, you choose it. I chose to compare it to Ford. So just to give you some numbers around revenue. So revenue for Ford at the end of 2021 was 136 billion. So 136 billion. Tesla was 53 billion. So Ford right there produces revenue at 2.5 times the rate in 2021 of what Tesla did. At the end of 2021, the market capitalization of Tesla, let me give you Ford first, was 87 billion. Tesla was 1.06 trillion. So again, they've produced revenue at 2.5 times the rate, and yet Tesla stock is valued 12 times higher than that of Ford. Now look at it today, and you've got a market cap of Ford at 46 billion, and you've got a market cap of Tesla at 386 billion. So if you just take those revenue numbers, again, the fact that Ford produces 2.5 times the revenue, again, this is a year dated, so take that for what it's worth, and you apply the revenue to market cap of Tesla, the market cap of Tesla at that revenue ratio would give them an $18.4 billion market cap, which is a 95% drop from where it is today. So
From
like
here,
again,
that's after a 60% drop. That's
from today, after a 60% drop. Now, again, like I totally get it. They aren't the same company. Their growth rates are not the same.
They're going to talk about growth rates, and that's the. So I'm so happy to have receipts on this channel. So about 3 months ago, there were a bunch of billionaires complaining. Barry, somebody or other in real estate, and Elon Musk. And I put out a video going, guys, when billionaires complain, you should freaking listen. Elon Musk is telling you that demand is falling apart because of the Fed. He is begging the Fed to cut rates because the only way he can make his number. And now, what has he done? He's taken the $7,500 credit, brought it forward a week, saying, please, please, please take delivery so I can count it. I think that 40% growth rate, which they're banking on, doesn't happen. And that just whack. And oh, by the way, he answered a question, which is why bankruptcy is possible in this Twitter Spaces. Now, I don't think it's likely. I just got to say it's possible. He has basically answered a question, what's more important, selling units or profit?
Right.
And he said selling units.
Right. Which is interesting.
And oh, by the way, he's going to do another gigafactory in Mexico. You think that's free? I mean, come on.
And I think that people understand that here in the United States, because we're here and we feel it, that the economy seems to be slowing. People feel like they have less money in their pocket because they do. They've gotten absolutely waxed in the stock market over the last 12 months. These aren't cars that normal people are buying. These are
they bank on their average net worth of a Tesla owner is 6 figures, right? Income.
Yep.
Guess who is? I am calling for a white collar recession.
Yep.
Guess where that falls?
Yep. Exactly. And the other thing about that is they're getting lumped up in China in a big way. China's crushing them. That's where their big hits are getting taken on the Chinese front. And who knows? Now, granted, you could say, okay, China's now reopening and that's going to, proliferate from an economic standpoint. But also what they see right now is massive waves of COVID that are being experienced in China. So, who knows how that rollout of a reopening economy is going to work, because their vaccination efficiency is not nearly what it is here in the United States. And so they're now going to have a densely populated country that gets at least released in waves or stages, whatever they want to do there. And we're going to see what happens with COVID and how much it picks up there. And it'll be an interesting little experiment that we're going to see here.
Yeah. I want to bring this one home with somebody who is a Tesla fan or bull. I'm not really. He's basically been in Tesla a long time. I forwarded you a video from Chicken Genius, who was in Twitter really early. Really, I like his analysis. He put out a video the other day basically saying, is he happy that Tesla hit his 140 target? No. All the haters go pound sand, and ultimately said the new floor is 60. Yeah. That has got to hurt, because again, Chicken Genius is not like you and I. We are not Tesla fans. Chicken Genius is a Tesla fan, and he's like, damn it.
Yep.
I think it's 60.
And again, these numbers aren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I just laid out the numbers that showed that 95% drawdown could be the case if this thing starts to get valuated more like what Ford, a traditional automaker, gets valued at. Again, this is not a tech stock. This is not the reason tech stocks deserve the multiple that they get, is because that each incremental user that you have on a software like Work or like Salesforce, whatever it is, it doesn't cost the company anything. It's just revenue to their bottom line and without an additional cost. That's not the case when you're producing a car. Each car costs the company money to produce. Therefore, you don't deserve a tech multiple when you're producing a tangible item that is a vehicle.
Yeah. So they're going to come back and say, what about the Cybertruck and semis and solar and all this other stuff? Folks, again, that's distraction. You're going to ultimately see Tesla have to refocus, in my opinion, because
I totally agree.
Yeah. It works. Again, remember that Elon Musk is the guy that said funding secured at 420. That's all you got to know. So all these other things he was doing to pump the stock.
Yeah, he was going to take it private and the Saudis were going to buy it.
Yeah, whatever, right? So
at 420.
Yeah, I am not I would never put any money in a cult stock again. I've done it once. It felt great and then it didn't. But I feel really bad for the folks that rode that. Basically, there's a bunch of folks that think Elon Musk can do no wrong.
Yep.
And they wrote it to 1.3 trillion. Now they're sub 400. And according to Chicken Genius, going lower. And
so I don't have this statistic on Tesla, but when you talk about people's cult following, the cult following growing and growing and growing, it hits its crescendo when the stock hits that high watermark. So JP Morgan, I'll just give you a crypto stat. JP Morgan just put out stats on crypto. We actually did a video on Instagram about it, but the peak buying, the peak first buy by anybody in crypto was when Bitcoin hit $68,789. The absolute peak. And I guarantee that that number is very, very similar for Tesla. Tesla's peak buying was happening at that, again, crescendo point of $1.2, $1.3 trillion market cap that they had.
You just got the last stupid buyer in, and now there's none left.
Yep. And he throughout the year just laughed as he sold back shares into the market.
$40 billion.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's the entire funding of Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the entire funding of his Twitter buy.
Well, he does have to pay taxes on that, but yes.
Yeah, true. Fair.
Very true. Well, do me a favor. Again, you put some great stuff out on Instagram, such as that crypto fact. Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks so much. Follow us at Life Goal Investments. Again, we just try to take the macro content that's going on in the world and make it digestible for the average person.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.